Okay, Joel.
Between Sundays.
What's your Chipotle order?
Chipotle?
Yeah. Like, what do you do when you go to Chipotle?
I don't think they have one in LA, do they?
Stop.
Just
okay,
kidding.
so when Chipotle first came out, I had a specific order, but my order has since changed in my life. As I've gotten older. But what's your go-to Chipotle order?
I don't know. You mean like how I would build a bowl?
So you're walking up, right? And you see the high schooler. Mm-hmm. What do you say? They're like, hey, what can I get for you?
I forgot the order though. Like I would
imagine it. Let's just do an imaginative prayer exercise, but with the Chipotle lady.
At this point in my life, I would start with just some steak.
No, let's not do that. You need to tell them what you're going to order. You'd be like, hi, I'm going to get myself a bowl.
Okay, yeah, I want a bowl.
With a side of tortilla or not. Or,
no tortilla.
Okay,
bowl.
So you want a burrito bowl for here to go, sir?
For here.
For here? Great.
Yes.
All right, what can I get for you? What kind of...
I'll put the steak, the carne asada.
No, you don't start with that. You start with
with
rice. What kind of rice can I get for you?
Cauliflower rice.
Oh, gosh. Why? That's your go-to? That's what you've done your whole life?
No.
We're not doing that. No one wants to know what your terrible current health kick order is. We're not going to eat cauliflower rice.
Well, I would do... Are there different rice options?
Think about Chipotle. Look at the stuff in your mind's eye.
If there's
white rice, there's brown rice, there's cauliflower rice.
No, I would do the brown rice.
Okay, so you do how many scoops?
Just one.
Okay,
not a big
all right,
rice
sir.
guy.
We're gonna have a bowl with some brown rice.
Just slide on the scoop of brown rice.
What kind of beans can I get for you?
And I want the black beans.
Black beans, great. And then what kind of protein?
We'll do the steak, the carne asada.
Mm-hmm. Then why do you like that?
I forgot what the other options are. If there's a shredded
chicken, there's barbacoa, there's carnitas, there's yeah, dude.
What is barbacoa?
Beef, shredded beef.
Oh, I would do the shredded beef then.
When's the last time you went to Chipotle? You're acting like you haven't had Chipotle in years.
It was at It was a regional vineyard conference in Tehachapi with you.
It's because in Tehachapi, all they have is like a Chipotle and like a mom and pop restaurant and a couple of breweries.
So I would get the. I probably would get.
You get barbacoa.
Barbacoa, and then I would want.
What kind of salsas?
The spiciest salsa.
The red.
If it's red, yeah.
Okay.
A nice red, and then I would probably. I mean, in an ideal world, I would get cheese.
No sour cream.
I would get wok sour cream and cheese.
Oh, okay.
But not now. I wouldn't. Now I get cauliflower.
No, we're not asking you about now.
I get cauliflower rice and some lime, just with some barbacoa probably. That's about it. Do
you have chips? Do you get?
I would have chips with it. Yes, chips would be good. What's your order though? Because you know the menu better. Okay, so hello, sir. Welcome to Chipotle.
I'm gonna get a burrito bowl.
Okay. Would you like that?
2 tortillas on the side.
Flour or corn?
There's only flour. The big old boys.
So 2 flour on the side?
Yeah, because they're only like 30 cents each now.
Okay, and what kind of meat would you have today?
No,
or rice?
I'd start with rice. I'd get double white rice.
Double white?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And then double pinto beans.
Double pinto?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and for protein, sir?
And then double chicken, but they've got this new chicken right now that looks really good. It's like a honey agave something, whatever. So I do double chicken. And then I do all 4 salsas.
Your mouth's starting to water.
Dude, I love Chipotle so much. I do all 4 salsas with an extra scoop of pico.
Okay.
Guacamole. Cheese.
I can see it.
Then it's already piling over. Then when I go to check out, I say, can I get 2 salad dressings?
Oh.
Because their salad dressing, their vinaigrette is fire.
And you put it on the bowl?
Well, and then I also go to the Tabasco section and I get Chipotle Tabasco, the flavor for Chipotle.
Wow.
And the green Tabasco.
Oh.
And then I ratio it out. I grab one of the cups of salad dressing and I fill the rest of because the cup, they have like probably 2 or 3 ounces remaining of space. So whatever is remaining, I put equal parts Chipotle Tabasco and green Tabasco in the salad dressing. I mix it up and then I pour it all over.
All over the meal?
All over the whole bowl. And then I mix my bowl up.
Wow.
And then I portion, because I have so much extra, all the extra beans, rice, all the extra meat, which is like a $13 burrito bowl. But the outcome is you get two burritos in their tortillas and you have extra.
Oh, I think I saw that. That's like a hack on how to get.
Yeah, I think it's like a thing now. I think TikTokers have discovered you can hack a lot of places. Wow. This was not really ever, in my mind, a hack. It was like...
you were at Chipotle before it was cool. You went to like the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up...
You grew up right there.
Right next to the first one. There. Yeah, like Chipotle was like it was as big as our studio in Denver at Denver University. And it was a super cool kind of college place. Wow. And then they opened one up where I lived, and I went there twice a week because of hockey practice. Like it was because you could get a burrito for like $5, and my mom really liked that because my brother and I would eat.
I remember it was fascinating when it first came out because it was like Subway but Mexican food ish.
I think that they invented fast casual. Like I think that they're kind of they're attributed as like the revolution of. Let's get really good, high quality food in a fast environment. I think that they kind of pioneered that, along with like your Panera Breads and
we have a build your own locally, like right down the street. There's the Vietnamese build a bowl place. It's
yeah,
like
that
Chipotle,
one's not. Yeah, and they're not
like
bad.
My Lai.
Yeah, they're not bad. I mean, the concept is cool. I don't think that Vietnamese food is worth that though. It's kind of frustrating because like the stuff that they're Vietnamese food is so veggie forward. The idea that you can charge $14 for a bowl that has a lot of veggies and then like a little bit of meat is kind of frustrating.
Oh, but their pork is really good. Or poke bowls, you can build your own too. Do you ever do that?
But that is a mainland American concept though, because like in Hawaii, you just go to the deli and they just have poke and then you get it by the ounce or the pound. So it's like we kind of weirdly Americanize that in your like make your own bowl concept, which is it's still wonderful.
So we talked about fries last week.
Yeah.
So then a few nights ago, I got beef tallow fries. I've never had that. This new burger place in Santa Monica.
Is it good?
It's like a upside down smash burger. Like they put the buns upside down.
Why do they do that?
I don't know. Then they smash it, so then you have an upside down bun. I think it makes you feel cool. And then it had like a special sauce, super big smashed patty, and then beef tallow fries.
Well, beef tallow fries
made me think of our conversation because they weren't. I wouldn't even put them in the top 5, but this place is known.
Yeah, I think that it's like a hipster thing nowadays to do beef tallow fries, even though that's been a thing for a very long time. Beef tallow is not expensive.
Beef tallow was a thing, and then it was like outlawed or something.
No,
it's so bad for you.
it was the '90s anti-fat movement. You remember that?
What is this?
Strawberry hibiscus knockoff LaCroix. No, it smells good. No, remember in the 90s where everybody said fat is bad? Mm-hmm. And it was like, don't eat avocados. Yes. It's got trans fats. And you're like, no, I don't think anybody even knows what that is. Like, so that was the problem is in the 90s, all these people started hyping the whole don't eat fat, which obviously don't eat fat, but it's not don't eat fats. It's don't eat unhealthy fats. Yeah. Because like, good oils have fat. It's actually kind of like the name of the game.
Yeah, I went through a season where, like a few years ago, where I like to cook with bacon up. Have you heard of that? It's just bacon grease. In a bowl.
I'm not so sure that's good for you.
No, it wasn't. I don't think. But it made everything delicious.
I don't think that pork fat is what you should be cooking your food with because that's really. I mean,
it was like a Instagram famous guy that would cook with bacon up. I think he was sponsored by the company.
I mean, if you can, the big tell, I mean, obviously we cook, so we like good things. But if you're curious about how to eat well and also eat tasty, you just got to think about is the animal you're eating, does it have a healthy lifestyle? What? Well, think about it. Deep frying something
we don't
in
eat
pork
like Cheetos.
fat. No, but like think about pork. What a pig.
I mean, that sounds disgusting to think of eating a pig or eating a cow.
But that's a really good tell. No, but think about it though. Pigs are nasty.
Pigs are nasty.
Pigs eat a lot of gross stuff.
Yeah.
Pigs are not prioritized for their cleanliness.
No, but
they're super tasty, super salty, super delicious. If you were to cook with a lot of bacon, it's not going to go well for your body because if you ate like a pig, you'd become a pig. Like that's kind of just the name of the game. Like that's why eating lean meats
Like
is
fish.
good for you.
Yeah, like a salmon.
But you shouldn't eat like catfish because catfish is a bottom
Yeah.
feeder.
Yeah,
You
that's
shouldn't
true.
eat shellfish because most shellfish are literally eating
But then why
scum.
don't we eat dolphins? Dolphins are super
Yeah.
intelligent and amazing.
So I've always thought this is such a fascinating dynamic. As Americans, we don't eat a lot of things
Right.
that would normally be very good for you and very healthy, but we kind of like petify.
Yeah.
Like we think dolphins look cute,
Well, they're smart.
so we're not going to kill
But
them.
if we were thinking, what are the animals and fish that are the most lean, intelligent, incredible things that if we become like what we eat, in a
Well,
sense,
let's not like Joe Rogan this. They're not going to like become what you eat. I'm just saying there's a health dynamic to like. Also, dolphin probably wouldn't taste good because they're almost too lean and too athletic, and they've just got blubber on the outside. I bet their fat is really good for. Their blubber is probably really good for like automotive things, like grease and things
it
like
feels
that.
really wrong to talk about dolphins. And
I mean, but
consuming
people
them.
in Australia eat kangaroos, and we wouldn't even think about doing that here.
Do they really?
They eat kangaroo meat, bro.
Wow.
That's like a normal thing.
Kangaroos are tough.
People in China and other Asian cultures eat like dogs and cats. Like it's not uncommon at all for that to happen. We think that's super weird, but it's
Because we
not.
domesticate, yeah.
Yeah, we like them, right? Or horses. You can't eat horse in America, but you can absolutely eat horse all over the world. Yeah.
Seriously?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, you can eat horse burgers.
Oh, they're pets.
I'm for real deal. So no, but like if you
don't
I think a good rule of thumb for
You make
cooking.
like Purina dog food out of horse meat.
I'm sure you do. I think Jack in the Box got busted for it making horse meat or kangaroo meat at some point, and that was like in the 90s, and they almost went bankrupt for it.
Wow.
I had Jack in the Box yesterday. It was so bad.
We shouldn't talk about like
They had
actual
curly
restaurants
fries.
because
Why?
Because if
Well,
we're a
this is-
popular podcast, it affects like
No, it doesn't. So I think if you're gonna cook,
the only thing I like at
pick
sour
good meats that
at
from
Jack in the Box.
healthy
I like
animals.
the sour. There's a
Yeah, the patty melt sourdough patty melt thing.
yeah, that was good.
That was probably from your college days.
The patty melt. Yeah, it was
At
like a
like
sourdough.
2 a.m. when you're
Yeah,
getting
that
30-cent tacos.
and the 7-layer burrito from Taco Bell that went
Oh,
away.
I love the 7-layer burrito. I was watching this girl on YouTube. She used to work at Taco Bell. And the whole idea is like Taco Bell's gotten too expensive to go regularly. We spent $40 at Jack in the Box yesterday. I was so angry.
Your family.
I was so angry.
Wow. You should go to Northgate Market and get the carnita meal.
I know.
It feeds
Taco
like 10
Bell
for $40.
I know. Taco Bell, this lady on YouTube used to work there, and she's like, I'm going to show you how to make everything at Taco Bell from home.
Oh.
And we're talking like Crunchwrap Supremes, 7-layer burrito, chalupas, the whole nine. And I was
Mexican
like,
pizzas.
man, she knows what she's doing. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And she like finds the sauces that are similar enough, which is really great. So, anyways, okay. So we've got yesterday we talked about money here at the church, which was good. This week we've got some things. We had baptisms last night,
did.
which was great.
Yeah.
Encouraging to see people get baptized.
There's just randomly though on food, the Oaxacan place next door to the vineyard has good guacamole and you can get crickets on it.
Yeah, it's
And there's
also
a place by the
expensive.
airport that has scorpion toast. I went there with my son once when he was like 10. We got scorpion toast.
That just doesn't sound good.
It's just a scorpion on toast.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all.
No, but that was random. But no, yesterday was amazing. It was such a good word on money. And yeah, we've had people, some people have just been coming for like the last 3 weeks and they've only been here for sex, money, and power, which is exciting. And these are powerful topics, but they're hard topics to just walk into a church and suddenly probably be engaging.
We had some guy get all up in arms and he's like, what kind of a church does a series like this after Easter? It's like, okay, bud. Only people who grow up in the church and like have super strong churchy opinions say stuff like that. Like, you know who didn't say any of that? Any of the people who got baptized last night.
That was so amazing.
If I could just give anybody a word of encouragement, if you've been a follower of Jesus for a very long time and you want to talk to the pastors about church, the first thing that you should do is you should ask yourself the question, does this sound like this is coming from somebody who recently got baptized or a very opinionated Christian? Because we love the opinions of the people who are getting saved at our church, and because they're humble and they're excited and they're not pretentious. It's just very, very wonderful to be around people who have a high expectancy for Jesus and a low tolerance for weird, opinionated,
peripheral things,
crazy, weird Christian stuff.
But that's even kind of a goal for us. Like David talks about in his big time of repentance, like restore to us the joy of our salvation.
Yes.
Like we need to want the joy of our salvation. We can just get numb in
Yeah.
anything in our lives. We forget our first love. We get nominal. We get casual. We lose the edge. We become like a potato. With
Yeah,
no
if you
salt.
care about more about what we're going to teach on when we launch Formation Ministries in September, and you care more about that than you do about baptisms last night, might need to shift your priorities.
Oh, it was so powerful.
Yeah.
That was, if you were there, it was amazing. So it's a night where you look around the room and there's just this unique look on everyone's face. From the people watching, it's a joy and humility of watching God's power at work as these people are getting baptized. And for others who are friends and probably not following Jesus, there's this curiosity and fascination on their faces. And then for those getting baptized, there's just this beautiful look that's like joy mixed with tears, mixed with humble awe. And it's like, it's overwhelming to look at the faces in the room. Because it's just one of the closest to heaven moments in a way where we're joining something so celebratory eternally. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's always fun, man. It's always fun. It makes it worth it. We had an individual at our church that came up to me and they said, "Wow, this is when everything's worth it." Yeah. You know, you go through a year or 2 years, or even just like a month of hardship as a person. You know, if you've gone through financial hardship or relational, breaks, church-wise, you feel maybe like you're being left out. Maybe just like you're struggling with a mental health condition, and you just, this month has been terrible, you know, and then all of a sudden you show up on a Sunday evening and you're feeling all of that. And then you see a whole bunch of people get baptized and you see their friends and family just like weeping because they're so joyous. That kind of shifts your perspective in a really beautiful way.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it's so beautiful.
So it's sometimes you just need to be around kingdom stuff to really remind yourself like, okay, God's doing something. Like, God, that would be, how many that's 20 in 1 year.
And
20?
Very significant stories too. These aren't people who have wandered in because they want to start new or they want an enlightening experience. We've had people inquire about baptism like that. But these are people who have been convicted of their sin and aware of the gospel and the reality of God's love and presence in their lives and his call to follow them, and they've submitted, and it's cost them a price, and yet it's amazing.
Yes. That's really good.
Yesterday, it was incredible to some of these stories. I mean, and how many people did you baptize?
None.
No, me neither.
I don't baptize people.
But that was so fascinating. Why don't you do that?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I think that it's significant for people. Everybody, like in the vineyard, we say everybody gets to play, and usually that's like, well, it depends on different streams of the vineyard. So for some reason, in what you and I have kind of coined the lazy vineyard, of like when you go, well, it's true though. Like you go to environments where like things are not done well. And then people, well, you know, John Wimber used to say that everybody gets to play. And it's like, that's not what that means, but that is a vineyardism. Everybody gets to play. It does not mean that if you're terrible at singing, but everybody gets to play, so let's give you a microphone. But you see that sometimes, which is really sad. Everybody gets to play was John's way of teaching that the senior pastor is not the primary person that should be bringing kingdom ministry through prophecies, words of knowledge,
or
healing,
Jesus.
or
like we can do the things.
Yeah,
Jesus
we can do
did.
the things that Jesus does.
Everyone gets to do.
Everybody
these things.
gets to do the stuff. So I just think it's really important for people to realize that they can baptize the people they lead to Jesus. I don't need to be the person who does that. And
Go make
if anything,
disciples of all nations and let the pastors baptize them in the name of the Father.
Yeah,
Son, and Holy Spirit.
why would I? And here's the thing. I think this is a little bit of like the lead pastor narcissism that exists in our world. Why does everybody else get to do all the hard work and then I get to eat dessert? Like that's no. Like I want to look in a room and I want to make so much room for ministry to happen without me that I look in the room and I witness however many baptisms every year, right? I want to be like, wow, this can happen with or without me. I just think that that's way more kingdom. So I just like seeing a sister baptize a brother, or a dad baptize a son, or a girlfriend baptize a boyfriend, like, because there's a significant reality to what they're experiencing in that moment. And also, I've baptized like hundreds of people in my life, so I also don't need it. I don't want the emotional fix. I'm not in ministry for dopamine hits. I'm in it to be faithful. So I like watching other people get to play.
It was beautiful. I asked some of the people being baptized, who would you like to baptize you? Like who's really been leading you?
Yeah.
And so it was really beautiful. One young woman mentioned two of her best friends here.
Yep.
And she said these two women have really led her.
Yeah.
And so one was my daughter, who I'm super proud of, and they baptized their first person.
Yep.
And that was super beautiful. And then another guy is wanting, I think it was Pastor Jacobs, he baptized. And these are people that have been spending hours with them and loving them and sharing the gospel with them. And
that's kind of just how, like,
so beautiful.
If you see revivals happening throughout the world, and specifically in America right now, there's a ton of revivals. Like, I'm actually using that word pretty specifically. There's a lot of stuff happening on college campuses right now. And what you see is that when college students get together, experience Jesus, give their life to him, and then they get baptized, their friends baptize them. It's pretty common for everybody to just it's only in the local church where it becomes like crazy cuckoo senior leader just needs to have his hand on everybody, and then all of a sudden all of the movement of the Spirit of God and it's almost like the senior pastors in most churches are dams just holding up the flow because whatever weird agenda that they have of like, I gotta blank, and it's like that's just really sad. So when we were in college, Brianna and I would do baptism services. We'd get in serious trouble with pastors of other churches in the city because we were baptizing people, and these pastors were like, they should be baptized in my church, and Brianne and I were just like, she got called into the president's office of the university, and he was like, putting them on blast. We had this president that just, we're part of a Mennonite college, and it was like the Mennonite movement historically was a rebel movement, anti the system. Yeah. Anti-Catholic, anti-Lutheran, because you had Martin Luther, and then you had the Catholic Church, and then eventually anti-Calvinism, which was Presbyterianism. The Mennonite movement started the Anabaptist movement, which was, we are going to audaciously go to the rivers and baptize our friends. And some stories have, one of my best friends he has his PhD in this, in historical theology for the Anabaptist movement. There are people, we have records of them coming out of the waters and then getting speared by Catholic priests. Like getting murdered because they were going against the church.
Wow.
So I'm at a university where our movement is one of rebellious baptisms.
Wow.
And he sits down, Brianne and I, and he goes, this needs to stop.
Wow.
I wish he would have got fired. Like that was a shameful thing to do.
Did that have to do with her being a woman, or
no? It was he was getting
entirely
ragged on
because
by
of
all the
local
other
pastors?
Mennonite pastors in the area that were all sorts of upset that baptisms were not happening in their four walls of their building, and they weren't, because all these Mennonite pastors baptized their people. Yeah. It's just so disturbing to see, like, wow, a move of God is happening in a local campus, and this is in 2009. This is a while ago, right? And it's just like, wow, a core, that would be like going to a Pentecostal college and saying everybody needs to stop speaking in tongues unless you do it in my church. Like it's such a core definitive value of the Mennonite movement. Wow. and she got reprimanded for doing it in campus. And kids were coming up out of the waters, prophesying and speaking in tongues, and because we were praying that they'd get baptized in the Spirit. And that just infuriated a very select group of like staunch conservative Mennonites. And it was just really sad. So anyways, we used to see all that stuff, and we baptized all of our friends, and their friends baptized their friends. So that was super normal for us. And then we went to a church. It was a Mennonite church up in Fresno where our mentors pastor. And at Mountain View, Fred and Esther don't baptize people either.
Wow.
Unless they are the primary person that led them to Jesus and discipled them in their faith. But almost always, Fred will be outside of their baptismal and he'll pray a blessing over them, and then their spouse will baptize them or whatever. So it's like, it's not an uncommon thing. You see it all over the place. So I personally prefer witnessing other people do the work of ministry. It's way more fun. And then you hear those people tell amazing stories of what they were experiencing in that moment. They're like, I never thought I'd baptize anybody. You know, which
That's
is like,
beautiful.
so it's really good.
When I was first a youth pastor in New Mexico, we had one of our main students was this guy, and I think he was 15, and he led 3 or 4 of his friends to Jesus.
Yeah.
So we were at a water camp, a lake camp.
Yeah.
And we decided to do baptisms. They wanted to. So I let that kid baptize
Yeah.
his friends.
Yeah.
I got in trouble for that when I got back, mostly just because the families were mad that
They weren't there
they
for
weren't
this.
there for that. And I realize now, like, that's kind of, we could have waited, a week, because there is something about the family in the church, and we kind of extracted them out.
Yeah, there's an odd dynamic of honoring your mothers and fathers.
Yeah, I was like 25, and I thought, wow, this is spontaneous and amazing. And in reality, no, I did make them call their parents and tell them.
I think that there's a delicate balance.
I would have done that differently.
Youth brings out all of the energy of spontaneity, but it runs the risk of dishonoring.
Yeah.
But again, man, like, I mean, when I meet 60-year-olds that are more angry than joyous, it breaks my heart, because it's like, are you really going to get mad that your son or daughter got baptized? Like, you can grieve that you maybe weren't there for it, but why would you not erupt?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's, again, I'm just the type of person that's just like,
and
increase in your security as a grown adult, and just be grateful that God is doing something either at a camp or at another local church. Like, one of the greatest joys that I had as a pastor when we were in Denver was we were the place that a lot of kids took their faith serious for the very first time. Like, they grew up in a religious background, and then they finally decided their junior year of college, because we were a big college school or college church. They were like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it was such a privilege for us to be the next step for them in their faith. Like, and it was always just so grievous to me when you'd hear about a parent getting angry that their kid wasn't getting baptized at their home church. But for the most part, we saw parents show up and look at us and say, thank you. Like, thank you that you reached I wasn't sure if they were going to really do this Jesus thing. And now they all, like, what a great gift that is to see,
Yes.
So I think it's super cool. Last night was great.
Last night was amazing too. At the end, someone who was baptized had just moved in to a new apartment and invited some of us over. And I show up, and there's 25 people in his apartment celebrating, and he catered it all. And 25 people in his 1-bedroom apartment. Just celebrating with him. People from work, people who are mentors, people from church, and I thought, look at this, like, he came alive, not just spiritually in that sense, but like these gifts are being activated. He's walking around handing everyone Hawaiian food, and his girlfriend's being super hospitable, and there are babies and old people, and it's like, look at this. It's just such a beautiful thing, like hospitality activated, and the kingdom of God and family. It was really beautiful.
That's great. Okay, so we've got to look forward to this week. I can't remember if I'm teaching on heaven or hell, so I'll have to figure that out.
What does the Bible say about heaven?
Yeah, it has a lot to say about heaven, but not a lot of things that we think it says. We're not going to be up in the clouds singing Chris Tomlin. Better is one day in your courts, just for all eternity. How boring!
That was Matt Redman, but yeah.
Oh, I don't know any of those guys. Any of those guys that are really short and they sing way too high. No, I think it'll be really fun to talk about. Heaven's an interesting one because, like, I think people just really they struggle to believe that it's pertinent to their daily life. So that'd be fun to talk about. I think it's Dallas Willard. He has kind of like a phrase or an ism that's like, you'll never meet someone who's normal. Everybody's extraordinary because everybody has an eternity. And this whole idea of like, no one's just a mere mortal. And why on earth would we be given vocations and calls in this life if we were not going to live out those vocations and calls for 1 billion years? And I just love that concept of like, if heaven is not just a Passion City church conference for all eternity, which would just get so exhausting. Like, but if it's like real life and food and joy and it's the kingdom, it's basically Eden now. Because Adam and Eve were supposed to procreate and cultivate and create culture, and eventually the world would have looked. If Adam and Eve never fell, then ultimately the world we live in would be Edenic. There would still be buildings, like there would still be culture, there'd still be art,
technology.
Yeah, of course there would be. Like, why would there not be? Right. You know, like God is redemptive in all of his plans for the world, and he is slowly and progressively. I mean, this is also progressive theology. Is progressive revelation of God is that throughout the scriptures, God is revealing more and more and more of his intention, and the culmination of that comes in the character and the person of Jesus. But it all God is always kind of trying to distill and sift everything back to its original intended purpose, not the original intended way it came about. And so if you think about our world, but Edenicized, it's not a real word, LA would still be LA in a lot of ways. And so then you think like, wow, if I'm going to live eternity in the new heavens and the new earth, the renewed earth, then that's heaven. Well, now there's a lot more going on at stake. And now here's what's fascinating. If that's your view of heaven, a lot of the scriptures make a lot more sense. Yeah. Like you have a lot to talk about. We're not just talking about being spiritual beings floating. We're talking about like, what will you do in heaven, and what will we partake in, and what beautiful glory are we supposed to expect? And then how does that apply to our daily lives? It means that everything that you do in this life has an eternal implication, whether it's for the earth or it's for, like the telescope that they sent this massive telescope to space, and that we were just getting images of it in the last year. It's like, why are there galaxies billions and billions and billions of light years away? It's because eventually we'll get there. Like, why would we not? Like, I mean, logically, if you think about it, if we have eternity, we will never die. We will live with God forever. Everything that we touch, everything we do will be a human, flourishing, perfect version of what we're already trying to, like, think about quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is toilsome right now because we don't understand the limitations of our world and the dimensions that we live within. And beyond that, what happens when we know it? What happens when we finally have the maker of all of heaven with us, Jesus? And he created, now, oh yeah, we can go to that other galaxy. We can go explore that. And that's not like weird sci-fi strangeness. Also, C.S. Lewis would say that our longings, the deep longings of our being, and that we long to satiate our aggressive desire to adventure, to go, to dream, is actually a heavenly deposited thing. And so, like, if anything, an apologetic for the existence of an eternally existent reality with God on this earth, the apologetic for that is that that's actually what we all want.
Yeah, that's why
and it's a universal longing. This is why people believe in reincarnation. This is why people believe that there's going to be judgment and then they're living it all for eternity. Like, every primary religion believes that there's something more, and it's because deep down inside every single human being wants there to be something more. And so, yeah, I think that if you can process a world where we will have unlimited opportunity to explore everything.
Wow.
And delight in everything.
That's so integrative and restorative. It's really a beautiful vision.
I mean, it makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Like, why is God so bent on restoring this earth? Well, because he wants it to flourish and exist for a substantial amount of time, you know, like, and then it's like, well, what happens in however many billions of years when our Earth or when our sun goes through its natural process of decaying, because it'll lose, you know, its energy and its steam at some point. Like, that will not be a problem. Like, we will have adventured into the unknown. It won't matter.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is a natural life cycle of God creating a cosmos for us to delight in. Like, that, none of that becomes a problem anymore. So
different than like the song that just came to my mind. It was like a Christian popular song 15 years ago, Father's House. Did you ever hear that?
Welcome to the Father's house.
Go with me to the Father's house. It's a big, big house with lots and lots of room. A big, big yard.
Oh, we're talking about like the paradise.
Where we can play football.
What is that? The mansion theology? Yeah, because Jesus says a word.
A big table with lots and lots of food.
Sometimes Jesus needs to communicate things in very normal language because we don't quite grasp it.
The grass will never grow.
Okay.
It'll just always be manicured.
That's not true.
But we won't have dogs or cats.
That is an interesting one, actually. One day we should just do a random podcast on animals. Yeah, because animals, according to the Old Testament, according to Genesis specifically, are essential for human flourishing. Like, absolutely essential. They're part of the days of creation.
It's very traumatic to think that there wouldn't be dogs or cats.
Well, it would be very traumatic to our ecosystem if there weren't whales or birds or honey. Like, is God going to recreate what is necessary for this world to flourish, or is there an alternative plan of reality, like where humans exist in our Edenic resurrected state, but the rest of the world is more just subdued properly?
Yeah,
like I'm not opposed to the idea that there is death in the new heavens and the new earth for animals. I don't think that that's a required theology to have, that there is no slaughtering of animals. Like, I don't see that as necessary. I also don't. I don't think it's necessary to believe that animals will exist forever, and I don't believe it's necessary for us to believe that animals just won't exist. I think it's kind of like one of those. The Bible just doesn't really have a purview on it because it's clearly not something God wanted us to think about, because it's really kind of purposeless. Yeah. It's kind of like Brandon and I got into a conversation on Friday night where we were talking about heaven, and she just said, "Man, like what?" Because she works with a bunch of NASA people right now. They just brought on at her tech company, and they're all Christian astrophysicists and stuff. And one of the guys was talking about what's the possibility of there being life outside of our planet, and I told Brian, I said I think it's very possible, because the math kind of can get us to there is a finite possibility that there could be other existent beings. And I said, but the Bible just doesn't speak to that. And sometimes the Bible just doesn't say anything about it because there's no point, you know? And like, could there be an entirely other existence of an image-bearing race of people that aren't, people's the improper word, image-bearing could look an infinite amount of ways according to an infinite God. He can choose, so it's like, what would be wrong? There would be nothing wrong. Actually, C.S. Lewis plays this game a little bit in Silent Planet series. He has a trilogy on what if there was another planet that didn't have a fall. Yeah. And like, what would we do if God created multiple Earths in a different galaxy and they didn't fall? And what happens if we interact with them now or when we're all resurrected? What is that? And it's like, that's not anti-orthodoxy at all, because honestly it has nothing to do with orthodoxy. Like, we're just trying to reconcile the God who decided to bring about human flourishing on our earth, and that's what our orthodoxy kind of wraps our brains around.
Yeah, it's unbiblical, not abiblical.
No, it is abiblical, not unbiblical. Unbiblical would be the anti of what the Bible teaches. A is non. It's just it's like all millennialism is. There just is no millennial reign. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyways, that'd be fun. I'm not going to do what I just did, though, on stage, because
we could do a fun Q&A afterwards.
That would be fun. One day.
Not this Sunday.
One day. So anyways, yep. So we're going to be talking about that.
Heaven,
anything else?
Hell. Super exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be great.
Well, this morning I pulled up to the church parking lot, and there's a giant crate thing, like a box from China or from somewhere, like a giant
Oh yeah,
box.
our big playground's coming in.
Our playground's here.
Well, calm yourself. It
Our
will be
playground
installed.
parts are being unloaded into storage.
Yeah, they'll be installed, guaranteed before the end of the month. That was what we were told.
Okay. That's
great.
super exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good.
So if you are 11 or so or under, and you happen to randomly be listening to this, or you're
Yeah.
a parent,
Yeah,
that's exciting.
yeah, it's good stuff.
It's going to be amazing.
Alrighty, sir. Well,
Thanks.
hope you guys have a good week. Enjoy whatever you're
Go get some
doing as you're
Chipotle.
listening to this. Go get some
Go
Chipotle
build
and
a
think
bowl.
about an eternity in the new heavens and the new earth, and what you would do now if you knew you lived for eternity. It'd be kind of cool.
Yes.
All right, guys. Have a good day.